Hey guys, how you doing today? Just on my way home, just shut down the store. Figure, what the heck, let's do a recording, as I've been doing this whole time. I feel like what's banging around my head today is sometimes I feel like I'm intentionally misunderstood, you know? Like, I feel like through my whole life I've taken controversial positions on things, not because I think that they are controversial, but because I think that they are right, and because I feel like they are worth exploring, and I feel like they are worth talking about. I don't try to be harmful, I don't try to disrespect people, but recently I just feel like, as I've been attempting to have conversations with people, it's like I hit a brick wall, and there are clearly hard lines and barriers drawn up in how people think about certain things that I'm simply not permitted to get past. Like, and this from, people who consider themselves open-minded or consider themselves willing to discuss or willing to experience things. And I just feel like it's been this whole way my whole life, like I was told when I was in my early 20s, or even in my teens, that cartoons are for kids. And I always thought that was extremely odd. It was extremely odd to be told that cartoons are for kids, when there are cartoons when there are animations like Heavy Metal, right? That's an animation. The Simpsons, when they were good. And now, of course, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who would say to you, oh, cartoons are just for kids. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to find somebody who would make that claim. And then I went through a very similar thing with video games, that video games are this, those are just for kids, and it's such a juvenile sort of thing. And now, we're just starting to kind of understand what video games are, the style of art form that they are, right? I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy video games. I'm playing a video game right now that I think has the potential. Hades is its name, and it's not in full release, but it has the potential to reach the same kind of level of human discovery, or to say something about the human condition that the ancient Greek traditions were attempting to talk about and attempting to illuminate. But when I was younger, there was just a type of person who you'd rudder up against it and, nope, this is just what it is. And especially, the one thing that always killed me when I was younger is people would say of video games, oh, they make people violent. Video games are what's making people violent. And I always kind of laughed about that, because even when I was young, I was like, no, video games don't make people violent. People are violent. Just people have violence within them. And they want to find outlets for that frustration or rage or anger or simple just violence. And video games offer a neutral catharsis to that. My background is in theater, and I understand the concept of catharsis, right? That's an ancient, Aristotle talked about catharsis, and that's what theater was truly about and what it was truly for, and that's what separated excellent theater from simple distraction. And that the art form of theater, much like the art form of video games, like you can find bad theater. You can find theater that's just, for distraction, for a faff, or just for, for escapism, which Neil Gaiman was the person who really convinced me not to decry escapism, because as he said it, the only people who don't want others to escape are jailers. I thought that was a brilliant quote from a brilliant man. And that really convinced me not to denigrate escapism, but that it is certainly a separate part of the overall art form. Because good theater and good video games and good art generally is attempting to say something about the human condition. It's attempting to find its way into the human condition and to become part of the larger narrative, and to say something that's honest, say something that gets the consumer of the art thinking or seeing the world in a different kind of a way. And I wonder, this takes me into dangerous territory, but I'll go there anyway, what the hell. I genuinely wonder if there is something within the world of pornography that is going to reach that same artistic level and come into the same artistic sphere as other forms do. And it's interesting that we've drawn a little box around this kind of sexual activity that we're all engaging in one way or another. And it seems as though we have this sort of guilty anger, or it kind of flows into what I was saying just yesterday, or like it's that we're guilty that we feel good. There's a guiltiness, even though each and every one of us has this drive inside of us. I shouldn't be so blanket. There are people who call themselves asexual who don't have this. So if you are one of those, I apologize, and I don't wish to force my view upon you as if it's irrelevant or doesn't matter, because it is. It does matter. But I can only speak from my own experience and the way I see the world, and the way I think lots of people do see the world, which is that we have this drive inside of us, this sexual drive that we want to explore the world, and we want to learn how to enjoy ourselves on that level in the world. It's one of our primary drives. If you think about the human body as within the chakra system, as I do, I like to think about the chakra system not as like a hard scientific fact, but just as a method to think about. Well, the first step to the chakra system, the first most basic chakra, is directly at the genital level, and it's the base chakra. It's where the energy lives. And I feel like we're taught to be disconnected from it. We're taught to ignore it, and that the only way that is acceptable to explore our own sexuality as people is within the confines and safety of a one-on-one relationship that is tightly defined and secure in its exclusivity. This is the monogamous relationship. And now I feel like with the existence of the internet and the existence of technology and video technology, this confine, this exclusivity, this tightly defined method by which people were put to explore their own sexuality and their own connection to the earth is being put in question. And that, well, there are many ways by which we can explore the world, and there are many methods, and just how, and I definitely feel like just how, like, video games and animation, cartoons, comic books, like all of these things were denigrated, deeply denigrated when I was growing up. I feel like a similar thing is happening to pornography, that it is taking heat for something that exists within us to begin with. I hear all the time, right? Like, oh, it objectifies women. Well, I've heard that exact same thing said about movies. I've heard that exact same thing about fashion magazines. I've heard that exact same thing about advertisements on the side of buses, that it objectifies women. And so I feel like it certainly isn't exclusive in that critique, and that touches down on a larger issue that is not endemic or specific to that field, and that is that men do objectify women. Like, men don't need help with that. Men do that, right? Men literally were treating women as actual property well before any of this came along. Way before, right? And my view is that in a closed society, right, that in a closed monogamous society, right, that's where it leads. It leads to these sort of tight legal strictures, these tight coded societies where the relationship between women and men have to be so clearly drawn to protect the insecurities of both parties. But I feel like a society that's more open, that has less structure, that has less stricture, that is less restrictive, is simply going to have more pornography in it. Because people love having fun with their sexuality, love sharing their sexuality. And if they are not, if they're not strictly disallowed from doing so, then they're going to engage in it. And have fun doing so. And enjoy themselves doing so. And again, I run up against, and I'm told that, oh, having fun or is somehow a denigration. That the people who are participating, and it gets odder still, because there's like this pro-feminist sex worker attitude that goes around, that if women who are working and engaging in sex work are to be protected and understood and listened to and taken seriously, but the men who enjoy their work are denigrated, pushed aside, insulted, told that their enjoyment of that work is objectifying women, which, again, I'm not saying that men do not objectify women, but I'm certainly saying that that is not the fault of pornography. Much in the same way that, like, video games do not make people more violent. People are already violent, right? They pour their violence towards video games to find that catharsis, right? And I feel much in the same way that men and women, that people go towards pornography to find that kind of catharsis. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not the type of person who's going to judge another person for finding their joy or finding their happiness or finding a way to subdue their suffering. Like yesterday I was talking about how we try so hard to glorify suffering, to venerate it. And and so one of the core attributes of this is to glorify suffering is to insult and denigrate fun or enjoyment, right? Unless it's specifically at someone else's misfortune, which definitely exists in our society. The Germans created a word for it, Schadenfreude. I think I'm mispronouncing that. But they created a word for the act of finding pleasure in someone else's misery, which is something that is endemic to humans. We don't need help with that. And I just think that, like, yeah, certainly pornography explores dark elements of humanity. Without a doubt, it does that. Without a doubt, it does that. But it also explores a lot of other things. And I think that people, like, clearly lots of people are watching it. Clearly lots of people are talking about it. Well, they're not talking about it. It's kind of underground still. And it's still considered dirty, lowbrow, less than. And the people who enjoy it and who openly enjoy it are openly mocked and insulted for doing so. Which, while simultaneously the people who perform and do the work are to be protected and sheltered and understood and listened to. So there seems to be this incredible double standard where it doesn't seem possible to a certain type of person that a man could enjoy a sexual performance by a woman while simultaneously respecting that woman. That seems foreign to liberal women, right? To women who are liberal. That just seems like it's not possible for a man to be aroused by a woman while respecting a woman. And that's difficult to grapple with, and that's difficult to hear. Like, I'm someone who enjoys, like, the sexual presence of a woman, and I still respect that woman. And I do acknowledge that, yes, men objectify women. Like, that clearly happens. But that's clearly happened throughout history. With or without pornography, with or without any of this kind of stuff. And isn't it possible that we can simultaneously work against the objectification of women while still acknowledging that female sexuality is attractive? Like, I am a straight white man. I find female sexuality attractive. I don't think that's going to stop. Certainly not in my lifetime. And it seems as though there are straight women who find male sexuality attractive. And I don't think that's going to stop. And can't we simultaneously enjoy the sexual aspect of one another while simultaneously pursuing and finding interest in each other? And why is it that it is assumed that I am attempting not to do that? And I feel like that's what gets foisted on me, and I feel like that's why I'm uncomfortable with this kind of conversation, is that it's exactly like other art forms and other things that I've enjoyed in my life, which is that I've been told that, oh, I'm violent, or it's making me violent, or I'm told that it's making me childish, or I'm told that it's doing that, and none of it was true. And I don't see why it would be true here, that it's making me act a certain way or do a certain thing or be a certain way. I'm like, I think that, like, all of those things are already inside of a person. And if they weren't already inside of a person, then the art form wouldn't be effective. And they wouldn't connect, and they wouldn't permit a kind of exploration or discovery that is interesting at all. Like, they don't, like, it's a real kind of chicken and the egg sort of conversation. But I definitely think that, like, if it wasn't for the fact that humans are already, like, violent and horny and seeking amusement and laughter, then things like cartoons and video games and pornography wouldn't be effective. You can't create horniness. Like, it exists already. It exists already. This is a weird conversation, but I'm glad I'm having it. Because this whole day I was feeling kind of grumpy about this and upset, because I don't like to be told that something I enjoy, like something that eases my suffering, is wrong to do. Especially when it hurts no one and it causes no problems for anyone. It just makes someone else feel uncomfortable about themselves, which is not something that I'm actively attempting to do or actively attempting to make them. And I just feel like I'm kind of over tolerating anybody who wants to denigrate anyone for enjoying anything. And that includes pornography. That includes these sorts of things that traditionally, I think, have a seedy, dirty, lowbrow kind of opinion. I just don't get it. I just don't see why enjoying ourselves should be something that's denigrated, right? I just don't see why we should glorify our suffering and denigrate our alleviation of that suffering. Doesn't really connect with me. It doesn't make sense. And I just think that everybody should loosen up, should have more fun, should think better of one another, and yeah. I'll probably do another video on this, probably on the concept of consent, because I do think that ties into this. I think that women are concerned that men, because this is part of the objectification issue, is that men will treat a woman on the street the same way that they would treat a woman on a TV screen. And that's just kind of stupid. Not on the woman's part, because I'm sure, like, I've seen this happen, obviously. This is something that happens. But on the man's part, it's just stupidness. It's just dumb. Like, it's just... And I just think that that is something that doesn't get talked about, honestly. Certainly not by the male community. This, like, male sexuality is very untalked about. And maybe I'll talk about it. Along with issues of consent and issues of these sorts of things. Anyway, weird talk today. Who thought that I was going to get into issues of human sexuality? I didn't. But I think it all plays, and I think it all ties in to our politics, right? And how we interact in the world, and I think our sexuality counts, and I think it matters, and I think it's part of the larger conversation. And how difficult it is just for people to enjoy themselves with one another, and how difficult it is for people to just let things kind of be, and live and let live, and let people exist in the world. And I do think it's all tied together, so it's something that's been on my mind, so I'm just going to wade into it. Yeah, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy to hear that. But don't tell me I'm wrong because you have some presumption, because of something you're holding on to ideologically, because I don't think I tolerate that anymore. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. Good luck.